Good morning. I apologize in advance for how I sound. I probably should be going to lie down, but um, I have found that lying down hurts more than moving around. So bear with me if you don't mind. I can talk slow and I don't need to be upbeat. So that's a good thing for this particular platform. um, I don't know where it came out of. We went live 2 nights ago on Too Strong. We were fine. I was fine, felt fine. And then right after we were done going live, we were going to record, and then everything just hits. I just start hacking and coughing. I was trying to get through it, but I couldn't do it. Took my shower, went to bed. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that was just hurling. It would not stop. I had nothing to throw up, but it was just going. And I think I went 3 or 4, maybe 5 times that day throwing up. Couldn't keep any, not even water I could keep down. So I took the day off yesterday because I had to, not because I wanted to, and tried to um, get stuff done, but it wasn't working. So went to bed last night around, well, not last night, yesterday around 3. Got up at like 6:30. First real sleep I got that day, and then went back to bed again at around 9, and I got up this morning at 6:30. So I just want you to know that I didn't want to skip a day again, partially for my mental health. You know, I think many people say you should, but I don't think you understand. Pushing is kind of like the thing now that I do, um, and when I don't push, I feel worse. So there's a little push that has to happen. I don't know if it's a stomach bug. Um, Normally, if it was a stomach bug, I wouldn't be feeling the kind of flu-like symptoms I got. So it is what. Yeah, the onion thing. Yeah, I plan on doing that today. We do it with our kids all the time. So I've it just didn't cross my mind. I was living on ginger ale yesterday, so it is what it is. So if you see me hacking with the mute button on, just ignore it and listen. I'll be popping a mint every once in a while too, but I digress. Um, a small update though. I see that All Things Theology dropped a video explaining his side of things, and I want to cover that because um, I think it's important we cover it. Uh, I really appreciated what he had to say. Reminds me a lot of my situation. So I do want to cover that. That'll be next week though. But today we will be discussing a really interesting conversation that happened on a podcast. And a man by the name of Glen uh, Scrivener and Matt Dillahunty had a talk. I guess you could call it a talk. And I really wish that he had, he did a good job, not saying no. But I still think that people and how they deal with atheists are an interesting bunch. Um, they're just weird how they reason. And I think it's time we start using their reasoning on them. Hang on. Yeah. I think it's time for us to start using our reasoning on them. I'll show you what I mean. So let's get into it before I run out of energy.
All human beings are worthy of provision and protection. All of them. Right? Would you agree with that? All members of the human family, no matter what their achievements, no matter what their attributes, all members of the human family are worthy of all provision and protection.
I have no idea.
And right there is where I would have I would have harped right there. I could stop the video right there and go no further. I could stop it right there and prove my point. Here's my point. They require of God what they themselves don't have. They require of God what they themselves don't have in the absence of God, saying that God doesn't bring anything to the table. But when presented with something they should have already, if you don't have God, they don't have it. I just kind of find that odd. You expect God to care about everybody and to save everybody. But when asked the question of if everybody has intrinsic value, you don't know. So if everybody doesn't have intrinsic value, then God is right when he doesn't save everybody. The difference becomes you have your view about what's intrinsic value and he has his. And you don't like his, you like yours, but even with yours, you can't decide what's intrinsic value. Huh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
It is a problem.
You say Hitler comes to me and says, you wouldn't believe how much better our society is off now that we're eliminating these people. Then you have to go back and look at it and say, okay, what have you lost? You have to point to something where they're adding value to society.
Is that so they have to achieve, they have to add value.
So,
but they don't have value.
Yeah.
Wow. They have to add value, but they don't have value. Christ died for all. Value had nothing to do with it. You see, and this is a problem with the humanistic viewpoints of things, whether they want to admit this or not. They do indeed view humankind as resources. But their view is always good because they have control of it and they can change anytime they want. They don't like God because he never changes and it's outside of their control.
That we seem to have a desire for meaning, purpose, value, all of those things he'll use as evidence for the God, because that serves as an explanation for it.
No, no, it's not an explanation for it. We see it as the natural progression of what he's made. You are looking for something that you yourself say it doesn't exist, but you say you have. That's our problem, is that with atheists, you say you have something or you want something from something that doesn't exist, but you say you have it, but when pressed, you don't have it. At least for us, we know the entity that has the things we're looking for. You don't have that.
I can do that with that exact same example. The reason that Glenn sees God as the justification for that is because he's uncomfortable with the possibility that there isn't an explanation for it, or that this isn't some sort of universal truth. So a preference for, I want there to be intrinsic human dignity, gets you to, hey, if there was a God, there would be human dignity, because this God is guaranteeing it.
No, God doesn't guarantee it at all. If God guaranteed it, nobody would die. If he guaranteed human value, like guaranteed it to me, there'd be no unwanted murder and all that stuff. It wouldn't happen. Plagues wouldn't happen. But there is no such thing. The value lies in the relationship with him. That's what they've refused to get. That's what they refuse to get. And I've asked this question before. If you, as an atheist, really think that you have it all, why, and there's no God, say there is no God, why are you not fixing the earth? Why are you not fixing the earth? Why are you not fixing the things that you say you have the power to fix? If God is not there, then fix it yourself. Weird.
And so that same circular preference is there. I'm just eliminating both of them and saying, I'm going to go ahead because I care about human beings and I value human beings because I am one, and say, whether there's a God or not, this is what I'm going to go for. And if there's a God that has a better way, they can demonstrate it. Why isn't a Damascus Road experience good enough for everybody?
And now you see, if he gave a Damascus Road experience to everybody, they'd call him mean because he blinded them. That's the funny part, is that if God were to do a Damascus Road for everybody, watch them say, couldn't you find a better way instead of blinding me and knocking me off my horse? Surely there's a better way than blinding me to get me to listen to you. Oh, man, these people are funny. I don't think he understands what the Damascus Road experience really was. I mean, I think he's looking at, okay, God talked to him. But dude, Saul got smacked off his horse, blinded. Is that, you want that? Something tells me if it happened to you like that, you'd be mad. You'd be like big mad. Couldn't you find an easier way to mess with me? Hey, come on, man. These guys crack me up.
So the moral argument for God's existence is not that we need some kind of arbitrary moral figure who has some whims and he will enforce them at the point of hell, and therefore it would be better if we want to live in a moral world to believe in such a God. The moral argument for God's existence is there is an objective realm of moral values, and the explanation for that objective realm of moral values is not going to be a material cause, because morals are not material things, right? Moral values are not reducible to just biological reality, and thank God for that, because biological reality is the survival of the fittest, okay? But moral values are something distinct from biological values, natural values. You cannot get from those natural values to the ethical values. You can't get from an is to an ought.
And that is true. That is completely true. They are distinguished from each other. That one has an impact on the other, but they're separate entities altogether. Okay, like say if I want to be, I have my idea of human suffering is one thing. And I say that if bees exist, that nobody should get stung by bees. And then someone says, well, the moral argument for people getting stung by bees is not really an argument against bees, but against people being put in predicaments where they get stung by bees. You say, okay, but bees still exist. Yes. So how do you stop people from getting stung by bees? You destroy the bees. But bees have intrinsic value. Okay, they do stuff other than sting people. They get flowers, blah, 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 blah. So how do you solve the problem? Do you just allow people to get stung by bees? Or do you separate bees from humans so the bees never have interactions with humans? But how you go about doing that, especially if humans are actually part of the pollination process that bees use as well. Or you could take away the instinct of bees to sting, and then that way you don't have to worry about it. But the stinging is actually part of their life cycle, so you need it. So where's the moral argument in it? It's not. Right now, it's all based on what? Physical interaction. The moral dilemma comes in, what would you do with a bee? Does the bee have value? The bee may not have value to you because it stings. It has value to me because it pollinates. So obviously we're at an impasse because your view of it physically coming to a moral standpoint is inadequate to mine, and mine is inadequate to yours. So there has to be something outside of both of us that dictates the right answer. The right answer would be bees do what bees do, and we have the ability to wear clothes to avoid it. So we have a physical response to a moral dilemma, but the two are not the same.
And you sure can't get from preferences to an ought. You can't get from a like to an ought.
Of course
If
you
there
can.
is,
You can always get from preferences to an ought.
Now, here's where it goes off the rails for Matt. This is where it goes off the rails badly, really badly for Matt. And I mean bad. Like, bad, real bad.
no, you can only get from preferences to another preference. It just becomes another preference just backed up with force. In point, I would prefer that my steak be done medium rare, and the establishment only does rare. And I say, no, I want my preference to be an ought. It ought to be able to get me a medium rare. My preference is this, and it ought to. Okay? I ought to be able to get my steak, but the establishment said, well, we don't do medium rare. We only do rare. So now we are in an impasse again, right? Or you can hold up a rifle and stick the place up and said, cook my steak medium rare. You've now used force to get your preference. But by nature of the establishment, they don't do that.
The problem is, well, all right, we're not going to necessarily. So first of all, I don't think we disagree on the is-ought dilemma. But as soon as you get into preferences, that's the objection. The reason you can't get from an is-ought is that you have to inject a preference.
Do you? Do you though? Do you have to have a preference to get from an is to an ought? Is there no such thing as compromise? Huh. Okay.
It's injecting the preference that gets you to the ought. I would like to live in a world where this happens, therefore I ought to do that.
Yeah. But it's also, I would like to live in a world that has happened, but it's not reality, so I can't have it happen. I don't care what your preference is, it may not be able to happen. So injecting your preference doesn't change reality at all. What?
The objection on the is-ought thing is this thing. If I start with the foundation of I would like to, it's not a problem with what it leads to, but why should I like
with
to?
the power, I suppose, is what I'm getting. Glenn is saying, if the person in power, say the Hitler, simply has a very different conception of what the best is for his life compared to your life, then do you have any moral, if you like, force to say you're doing something wrong? Isn't he just going with his preferences as opposed to your preferences?
Yes.
I hope you just caught what he just said. I'm going to rewind it so you can hear what he just admitted to, okay? Because it's crazy what he just admitted to.
Why should I like
with
to?
the power, I suppose, is what I'm getting. Glenn is saying, if the person in power, say the Hitler, simply has a very different conception of what the best is for his life compared to your life, then do you have any moral, if you like, force to say you're doing something wrong? Isn't he just going with his preferences as opposed to your preferences?
Yes.
So he has no moral ground to tell Hitler he shouldn't be doing what he's doing because that's Hitler's preference. A moral right and wrong is something that you inject preference to by Matt's standard. So you have no power morally to tell Hitler he was wrong because that's just his preference. And if your preference takes you to an ought, then it would be okay. Meaning, if Hitler thought it was cool and he ought to make it happen, then he's right to do so because his preference prevailed over and he made from an is to an ought. Huh? If you have no strict moral code to say that Hitler's preference was wrong, you have a problem. You have an automatic problem. If you're letting a preference supersede morality, you'll have a problem. It tells me you don't have a very firm grasp of morality, especially if it's hit and miss. Oh, please do tell me what he said then. Please, Ben, tell me exactly what he said. Since that's absolutely not what he said. That'd be great. I'll continue, but I'll wait to see your response.
What is it that's up here that says those preferences are better and those preferences are worse?
This is
what is that?
This is the objection that's often launched.
Answer the question, though. Answer the question. He's about to take this off to a different tangent, and he will never answer that question. That's the biggest problem with these people. They don't answer the question. The question was posed, and look at what he does to his answer. Watch the question.
Preferences are better and those preferences are worse.
This is
what is,
yes.
What is it that's up here that says those preferences are better and those preferences are worse?
This is
what is that?
This is the objection that's often launched. So I could sit down with Hitler. I wouldn't, because he's dead.
Is that the only reason you wouldn't sit down with him? Because he's dead? Okay.
But I could sit down with Hitler, and if we could find the thing that we agree about, that we care about, we can then demonstrate which one of our preferences are in conflict with that.
Okay, but that's just a concept outside of what is right and wrong. You still haven't answered what is that thing. And that's why he's not going to answer that question, because he does not have a moral base. He doesn't have a center for right and wrong. It's all based on preference. It's simply not true. Do you have a moral force, or is he doing to say he's doing something wrong? Yeah, that's not the question. Again, you didn't listen, did you? That was not the question. That wasn't even remotely the question. Do you need me to back it up so you can hear the question one more time? Because I have a suspicion you don't listen. I have a mad suspicion that you have a listening problem. That was not the question. I'll rewind it again for you so you can hear. I'll rewind it again. Let me make sure I write down where I'm at right now, though. 353. Okay.
With force.
The problem
is to an ought. And you sure can't get from preferences to an ought. You can't get from a like to an ought.
Of course you can. You can always get from preferences to an ought.
No, you can only get from preferences to another preference. It's just becomes another preference, just backed up with force.
The problem is, well, all right, we're not going to necessarily. So first of all, I don't think we disagree on the is-ought dilemma. But as soon as you get into preferences, that's the objection. The reason you can't get from an is-ought is that you have to inject a preference. It's injecting the preference that gets you to the ought. I would like to live in a world where this happens, therefore I ought to do that. Mm-hmm. The objection on the is-ought thing is this thing. If I start with the foundation of I would like to, it's not a problem with what it leads to, but why should I like?
With the power, I suppose, is what I'm getting. Glenn is saying, if the person in power, say the Hitler,
if the person in power, Hitler,
simply has a very different conception of what the best is for his life compared to your life, then do you have any moral, if you like, force to say you're doing something wrong? Isn't he just going with his preferences as opposed to yours?
There's a part of the question you missed right there. Isn't he just going with his preference? He said yes. Back it up just again. You can hear it.
If you like, force to say you're doing something wrong, isn't he just going with his preferences as opposed to your preferences?
Yes.
Isn't he just going with his preferences as opposed to yours? Yes. How is this difficult? How did you miss that part of the question? How did you manage to miss the absolute part of the question that was linked to the fact that Hitler has the power? How did you miss that? It tells me you're not listening.
Is often delude ourselves. And we look at our preferences and assume they're right, but they're going to conflict with something foundational, which is,
You know what? You will hear him double down on the answer in a second. No. You'll hear him double down on the answer to prove that you didn't listen and that he was listening to a certain part of the question. He'll double down on it. And he'll not only double down, he'll triple down on it as well. Since you want to say he didn't say it, I'll let you hear him say it himself.
basically at the beginning of that superiority to secular morality talk, I talked about how you could begin with, let's say, 3 foundational premises. Life is generally preferable to death. Health is generally preferable to sickness, and pleasure is generally preferable to pain. None of them are universally true. Sometimes pain is preferable. Sometimes death may be preferable, which is why I support death with dignity for people who no longer have any hope of a quality of life and with their individual autonomy and control over their own life. But you can begin with those and you can build something. But you can start with anything. You could start with death is better than life, and what you get to is extinction. Sure. And so if I find something, I think Hitler probably, I mean, there's the old joke, Hitler probably loved his mother too. Hitler probably valued human life, just had justifications for excluding certain others.
Right. And you think you could reason Hitler into...
I don't know that I necessarily could.
Why
because
wouldn't he
there are
reason
people,
you into his way?
It might be.
Do you see my point? Do you see my point? There is no absolute morality for this man. He would reason with Hitler, but there's no guarantee that he can convince Hitler otherwise. But there is a chance that Hitler could convince him. See, if I had a moral absolute, there is no way Hitler could convince me. Hitler is either wrong or right based on moral certitude. But if Hitler is right or wrong based on preference, anybody can be convinced to join Hitler. That's why he answered the question the way he did, with yes, because he also prefaced it with the idea that if you interject your preference, morality changes. So his answer was indeed set on no moral stand ground. None. None at all. So when you have this concept coming to you as to what is moral certitude, and you have nothing to go based on other than preference. And since preference is like the wind, it blows, blows, blows. I don't see why, again, they love to deflect. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? I like how you just left the whole conversation and went to that. You see why you can't reason with these people? You just left the whole conversation and went straight to something else. That has nothing to do with the conversation at all. Anyway, he has no preference based, he has no moral stance at all. There is no definite moral right and wrong. No moral right and wrong. Because he's all based on the preference. He's just proven that you can't get to an ought with preference. It's kind of interesting to me.
I'm not saying that that's not necessarily the case. I'm saying if you can show that what your actions are and the things that you're justifying are in conflict with a foundation that you agree with, that's where the problem is.
But the foundation you're disagreeing or agreeing with is not a moral certitude. The moral standpoint that you're going for is still a fickle ground, still ground that moves. You're still dealing on a ground that's very unstable. There is nothing outside of you that's stabilizing it.
Right. And what if it's the establishment of the master race? Because if the fittest do survive, then wouldn't it be nice if the fittest should survive? Like we take that hop, skip, and a jump.
And watch this.
Sure. And then you ask what criteria are you using to determine fittest?
And again, we're having a symposium when we should be fighting a war. And this is
No.
And this is where he fails. Trying to get to the meeting. Let me just deal with this real quick. This is not a political channel. I have another political channel if you want to talk about Trump. This is not the spot for Trump. We're not talking about Trump. Nothing to do with Trump here. If you want a question about Trump, go to a Trump channel, a political channel, to get your answers about Trump. We're not talking about Trump here. Is that easy enough for you to do? If that's cool enough for you, then it's cool enough for me. Okay? We're not talking about Trump. Is that good enough? Perfect. Yeah, bye, Ben. I realize that you don't want to have the discussion. As soon as I brought up something else, you went to Christian. You got proven that the question wasn't the question you said you had. He doubled down on it, and all of a sudden, Hitler was Christian. But you're right. You should say bye-bye. This is a perfect time for you to say bye-bye. Perfect time. I agree with you. But if you have no moral outside of you standpoint that's solidified, unchangeable by you at a moment's notice, it's not really certain. It's not for sure. It's not set in stone. So if I can't weigh it against it, I can't weigh it against it. I can change it anytime I want.
No, we should always be having a symposium so we don't have to fight wars. Why would anybody ever say we should be fighting a war?
You sound like Neville Chamberlain. You know, I found peace in our time with Hitler because I'm going to sit down with him.
Well,
and
I'm sorry that advocating for reasoning rather than blowing crap up is so anathema.
But the problem is you can't reason with them if you have nothing to reason from. You just said that he could possibly persuade you. So where is your certain spot, that unchangeable point of view about human life that you're reasoning from, that he could persuade you otherwise? That was your words. You said you might be persuaded by him. You did. Okay, cool. We are. That's exactly what we are. Now that you have that's exactly what we are. And you can't change it. Perfect? Good. So either you're here to talk or you're here to troll. If you're here to troll, we'll just block you. Yes, we are subjugated by a book written by man. There you go. Okay, cool. That's what we are. And we're happy that that's the case. We are fine with that. We have definitely we are more than subjugated. We are prisoners. Slaves. Yep, gone. We are mentally gone. We are just gone. There's nothing you can say can bring us back. You know? Yeah. 100%. You're right. Really right. And we're people are in control of us 100% of the days. Yep. Yeah. Yikes. Exactly. So why are you still here? We are a cult. Let's go with that. We are a 100% cult. We don't think for ourselves. We are mental drones. We are just gone. Can you negotiate with those people? No, you can't. See? All right, cool. At least we got that out of the way. Now you know what you're working with. You're working with a bunch of dummies, and we have no idea what we're talking about. And you can't reason with dummies. So why are you here to reason with dummies? Anyway.
I think we tried to reason with him.
I'm not saying, see this. Okay, here's where the confusion is. I'm not saying after the war started, send Matt in and he can sit down with Hitler.
He's very clever.
We're using a precise example to talk about a more abstract one, which is essentially, let's say you and I disagree on, you want to take some action. You want to exterminate some portion of the population. The process that I'm advocating for is for us to figure out what shared foundation we have, if any, which we'll find something shared, and show which one of us is more in conflict with and which one of us is more in keeping with that foundation.
Again, if the foundation is fickle, any point of view can be in conflict or in agreement with. Let's just pick something arbitrary. Let's say the foundation is milk. Let's go with milk. And my preference is chocolate milk. Your preference is strawberry milk. They're both not milk, but they, at the same time, they kind of are. The base is milk. So are either one of us wrong? Now, here I say, for my chocolate milk versus your strawberry milk, I don't want any strawberry milk drinkers around me. Well, I don't want any chocolate milk drinkers around me. But they're both milk. But we just change the milk a little bit. Can I then say give up my preference and say we should all just drink regular milk? And can you give up your preference and say we should all just drink regular milk? What is the advantage or disadvantage to drinking regular milk? Or should I change my preference from strawberry to chocolate? Or should you change yours from chocolate to strawberry? What is it that says either one should be right or wrong? And I know milk is a silly one to pick, but which one says it's right or wrong? I get to say, okay, and then chocolate, look at chocolate. What does chocolate have in it? And chocolate has this ingredients, and it takes away from milk like this. And I have strawberry, and it has this ingredients, and it takes away from that regular milk. Okay, cool. Well, that one's poisonous. Who says? Well, if you look at the data, okay, well, I want to be poisoned, and I think everybody should be poisoned too. Now we're getting into the morality of it. But I don't want to be poisoned. Yeah, but that doesn't matter because my preference is that you be poisoned by drinking my chocolate milk. What is the moral code that you can have to tell me not to force chocolate milk on people? Say you say that poisoning is bad. Why? Why is poisoning bad? It ends human life. But why is it bad? I've been drinking chocolate milk my whole life. I'm not dead. So why is chocolate milk bad if you're weak? They won't be able to give an answer to that. If it's if we're going based on preference here, you got to tell me why death is bad. Why is death endued by me bad?
Is it always going to be the case? No. But you asked how you would actually solve that, and I would. And if it didn't work, I'd kill him. If
it didn't work, you'd kill him. But that's a hindsight statement, and I guess I understand it's in jest because you're working on hindsight of what Hitler did. I get it. But your next step, if he doesn't agree, is to do something drastic. And you're telling me that you don't have a moral compass. So if you do have one, you do agree with it 100% to the point where you do something like that.
and if well-being, just very vaguely just defined, if well-being is the metric that we're using,
yeah.
And if Hitler could say, "Oh, we are so much better off without the disabled," you have no idea. You know, we're soaring our industry, our numbers are through the roof, our well-being is doing incredibly well once we eliminate the sick, the weak, the handicapped.
And that was his thought process. Yeah, I am. And I'm good with that. Why is that a problem? Why is it a problem for me to be an idiot? If you can answer that, please. Can you please answer that to me, Air Power? What's wrong with me being an idiot? Unless, of course, you were aiming that at Matt Dillahunty. Oh, I knew they would come in today, Teresa. I knew they would. Chris warned me about that yesterday. He warned me about that. Don't block them yet, okay? Till I give the go. Don't block them yet. This is good stuff. Don't block them. I'll give you the go when it's time to do it, but don't block them yet. Okay, cool.
Is he right at that point?
Well, that's when you go through and you talk about what data are you looking at to define well-being, because
what data?
Yeah.
Now you have to go through a data to find out if the well-being of the country will be affected with the ending of handicapped people. Ain't that interesting? Hitler says that they're better off without them. So we need to get the data as to how we're better off without them. Morality alone won't tell you that they're part of society and need to be here. Interesting.
You're having that conversation about the because he's just told you I've eliminated
Oh my
the
gosh,
handicaps.
it's not like I'm no.
You can't escape the conversation now by saying that's not what I really believe. We're having a hypothetical conversation anyway. You should have known that from the beginning. But the reason he's trying to back out of it now, and it'll come up here soon, the reason he's trying to back out of it is because that is really his point of view. You'll see.
Okay, but
He's
because it is
saying-
happening right now. Okay, there is a Down syndrome population, for instance, that's being eliminated globally right now, and we're having a conversation about it. Okay, and I think it's better to have a conversation than to blow people up and all that sort of stuff. But it's a very live issue. I mean, it's not just the Godwin's rule.
I'm just going
thing.
with the example that you say. Hitler comes to me and says, "You wouldn't believe how much better our society is off now that we're eliminating these people." Then you have to go back and look at it and say, "Okay, what have you lost? Is your society better, and are you just looking at the short term? Did you, in fact, how do you know that you didn't lose a cure for disease? How do you know that you're not worse off because it has fundamentally changed your psyche? How do you know that you're not worse off because you've lost art, because you've lost human connection?"
Listen,
it's not just see. This is one of the problems that you could point out to people that are going down there. Well-being is not just what's my
aren't those
financial
people's
well-being, what's
lives
this?
worth something, even if they didn't produce a cure for cancer or great works of art? Even if they just, sat around and consumed all the resources that all the able-bodied people were doing.
If somebody sat around and
I
did
get-
nothing but consume, I don't know how you could consider that as adding value. You have to point to something where they're adding value to society.
Is that
They,
what
so they have to
gives-
achieve. They have to add value,
So
but they don't have value.
yeah,
there you go. Goes back to the earlier question. So like my brother, he doesn't add value to society. He doesn't work. He doesn't do anything in government. He argues with my mom a lot. He consumes resources. He doesn't put any resources out. So by Matt's delineation, my brother would be a candidate for euthanasia because he doesn't bring any value to anything. Tangible value. That's interesting to me. Oddly enough, that other guy, the mustache guy, thought the same way. Therein lay his reasons for doing it. All you do is collect resources. And so if I remove you, then I have less resources going to waste. And if I have less resources going to waste, then by nature, it's a win for me. I don't need data to back that up. That's pretty much natural idea. If something is taking up space and it's not helping with that space and you remove it, then you have more space. Huh.
So this is what I'm saying when I say that there's no intrinsic value to it, but
Right.
that I value human life, and that everybody, almost
Who's I?
everybody,
But who's I? You, Matt Dillahunty.
I'm speaking specifically for me, but
Mhm.
also
But if
I
someone
think
else
this.
doesn't, you try to
What-
reason them out of it. But
What? Yes. What do you?
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
See, you sit there and you. Okay, let's try it. I don't value human life. Change my.
And I understand this is his hypothetical back. But you have to remember his original conversation was this. If I have something that is of value to me and I interject my preference into it, it can change. The same way he would sit with Hitler and Hitler can convince him that his viewpoint was something good, then your viewpoint of morality is wavering. You don't have a set right and wrong for murder. You don't have a set right and wrong for ending life. You have no set right and wrong. If preference can switch your moral code on and off, you don't have a moral code. People say all the time, morality is fluid. It's not fluid. If it is fluid, then Hitler was right. If morality is fluid, then he was right. His preference was that there be no Jews. And so he set about making sure that that happens. So what is your moral standpoint for him eradicating the Jews as right and wrong? That life is a sanctity? That there is sanctity in life? Well, how do you define that sanctity? What exactly makes it so awesome to have life? What outside of you makes it so? Outside of your preference, and what makes your preference better than his preference? If he has the strength to override your, what's the difference? He just has more power over you than you do. He can impose. He has power. Does that make him right because he has the power to make your viewpoint go away? Or is he still wrong? And if he is still wrong, what makes it wrong? It has to be more than just preference.
My mind.
Look at the Nazis.
And
my mind.
This hypothetical, okay? This is where I would have gotten him. In this instance is where I would have gotten Matt in his hypothetical. The unfortunate thing is that our guy here didn't do that. Glenn did not go where I was hoping he'd go.
I'm speaking specifically for me, but also
But if
I
someone
think
else doesn't, you try to reason them out of it. But
what do you, okay. See, you sit there and you, okay, let's try it. I don't value human life.
And as soon as he said that, you know what I would say? Okay, start with you. There you go. You don't value human life? End yourself. Prove to me you don't value human life. Prove it. Go ahead.
Change my mind.
Look at the Nazis. Look at that vision of humanity.
I don't care.
Okay, good. And he's very belligerent about, because again, I understand it is his this is his hypothetical.
I don't value human life. Change my mind.
You have yourself a humanity that has dignity. You might not believe it right now.
I don't. Change.
Then end yourself. If you don't value human life and you really stand on that, you would be the first to go. What you really want to say is you don't value other human life. You see, people, and I'm not talking about Matt specifically. I'm talking about the idea of this concept of if I don't, and I get rid of. You said it. All we're going based on is what you said. You don't value human life. Then I will tell you, if you don't value human life and you are one, then start with yourself.
My mind.
I'm trying to change your mind by saying without achievements, without attributes, without contributing a penny of money, without expending a calorie of effort.
I worry, by the way, that this is going to get cut as if this is really me saying this when it's not.
And I'm counseling you or something. Yeah, I'm your therapist.
And it may not be you saying it exactly. I get that. Not saying you did say that. But the mere fact that you took that stance as your example, it's really easy to refute by making sure you go through with the thing you say you hold dear to. If you genuinely believe that human life is it's an inconsequential thing, start with yourself. If you believe there is no God and that things should be better, then start fixing it yourself. If you think that there is no God and a God would do this and why would a God, and stop wondering about what a non-existent thing would do and do it yourself. Instead, you harp on the thing that doesn't exist as though it does exist, and you blame it for something. You blame it for this, you blame it for that, but it doesn't exist. If people don't want to believe in God, you don't have to believe in God. And if he doesn't exist, then he doesn't exist. And if that's the truth, then there's no way for me to convince you otherwise. But secondarily, if he doesn't exist, why are you wasting time on something that doesn't exist? Skeptically, I don't mind you being in here, but I would prefer that you not address my mods the way you did, please. That'd be a really appreciated. If you don't mind not addressing my mods in a certain way, that'd be amazing. Demonstrate that your God is more than your imagination. We can't do that. We have no intentions of doing that. He's non-existent, right? Skeptically, I'm going to talk to you directly. Does God exist? Let me ask you that question. Does God exist? Is there a God? Skeptical, I'm talking to you. If you don't mind addressing the person on screen here. Does God exist? Skeptically. Does God exist? Now go answer me. Skeptically. No? Okay. I just want to know if God exists or not. Just trying to have a conversation with you skeptically. Does God exist? I'll let you know, Chris, for sure. Skeptically. Did you leave? Did you disappear skeptically? Did you skeptically disappear? Were you skeptical about the question? Is God real? I just want to know skeptically. Pretty easy question in my book. All right. Well, I guess God don't exist or something. I don't know. We'll see. In any case, the problem with evil and reality and morality with atheists is this. How did you not hear the question? Anyway, does God exist skeptically? Does God exist? That was a question I asked like 15 different times now. I don't know how you missed it. The one we think of, the one we believe in, does he exist? The one that you think we believe in, does he exist? I will reframe. Okay. The God of the Bible, the one that sent his son Jesus, the one that in the book called the Bible, that God. Does he exist? That God. I'm trying to narrow it down all the way for you. Okay, good. So if it's only in my imagination and he's not in yours, what's your problem with my imagination being? What's your issue with my imagination? Am I not allowed to have imagination? And we're going to limit it to me. We're not limiting it to anybody else, just me. What's your problem with me having an imaginary God? Who am I trying to influence? Okay, but who am I trying to influence about it? If it affects my actions, which is my actions, you said, right? It affects my actions. Good. How are my actions affecting you, though? Okay, did I invite you to come chime in? No. So how are my actions affecting you? Why is my belief into an imaginary God affecting you? How is it affecting you? To the negative, I mean. Please tell me. How? No, you didn't tell me. How is it affecting me? Sorry, how is it affecting you? How is my belief affecting you? I just want to know. How is my belief in my imaginary God affecting you? Even if it affects my beliefs, how is my beliefs and my behavior affecting you? I just want to know. What effect does it have on you? Am I forcing you, asking you, begging you, telling you to do anything? Did I say believe in him or die? No, I didn't say that. So how is my imaginary God messing with you? It's a simple question, man. Just having a good faith conversation. How is my imaginary God messing with you? Hello? Skeptical. Lee. No? Okay. I thought you said you answered, but I'm looking back and I don't see it. Messing through so-called morality. Holy F, dude. Can you give me a chance to answer? I did give you a chance. You're on a phone, but you just typed two things that you could have taken time to just answer the question. Like you just typed two things that you could have easily taken that time that you wasted to type, I'm on a phone, and let me answer the question to answer the question. Three times. You took 3 times to type something that wasn't the answer. You're on the phone, but you took 3 times to type something that didn't have the answer. And I'm insufferable. How about you answer the question I asked? Demonstrate. I did answer your question. I said we can't. That's exactly what I said to you. I said we can't do that for you. That's my answer. I cannot prove or demonstrate to you that my God is more than my imagination. I can't. So then I asked you, why is my imagination a problem for you? And again, you took more time to answer a question that wasn't asked, and you type all kinds of stuff, but you complain that you're on the phone. See, now you got your answer, but I'm still waiting on mine. Why is my belief in an imaginary God a problem for you? You see how easy it was for me to answer your question? Why can't you just answer my question? Why is it a problem for you? Why do y'all have a hard time letting people be crazy? If I am crazy, imaginary, Barney, whatever you want to call it, spaghetti, whatever you think it is, why is it a problem for you? Don't worry, he's on the phone. He'll take some time to answer. He doesn't know how to answer the question on his phone. He can type other things on his phone, just not the answer to the question I have. It's a problem because you're forcing your it's not pseudoscience, it's imaginary, remember, on us, which, okay, don't believe it. No one's asking you to believe it. Again, limited to my platform, not everybody else. I'm not everybody else. I'm me. I never asked you to believe it. You don't want to believe it, don't believe it. See how easy that was? I don't care what you believe. If you don't believe in God, you don't believe in God. Okay, cool. You don't have to. Nobody's asking you to. At least not here. I am not going to try and tell you you have to believe in God. You don't. And you wonder why people don't like talking to you. If you could keep your BS to yourself, no one would care. I have my platform for my platform of people who want to listen. I live in America, right? America has something called the First Amendment, right? The freedom of speech, and I'm using it the same way you're using yours. But also there's one that's not listed. It's called freedom of minding your business. If this isn't what you like, then don't come to it. I don't get it. This isn't the room for you, and that's okay. You don't have to like this platform. You don't have to agree with this platform. No one's asking you to agree with the platform. I created the platform because I wanted to. People that like what I have to say, subscribe to it. If you don't, that's okay, dude. This platform doesn't force nobody to do nothing. I didn't force you to walk in this room and chat. I didn't press your fingers up against your phone. I didn't do that. That was you. You chose to do that. I just want to know why. Like, you still haven't answered my question. I noticed that you have not answered my question. It's a problem when your freedoms come into conflict with other people. Whose freedoms is my thing coming in conflict with? You still not answer my question. What freedoms do you not have because of my statements? Tell me. Oh, no. Don't deflect about the frazzle statement. I'm laughing. Again, just answer the question, bro. See how I answered yours? Just answer my question. What freedoms is this platform messing with when it comes to your freedoms? Simple question. What freedoms is my platform and my speaking doing to your freedoms? How is it affecting it? How is it messing with it? Is it curtailing it? Is it getting rid of it? Is it damaging it? What exactly is my freedom doing to yours? I mean, I know it's in conflict because it's a completely different viewpoint, and that's okay. I'm just want to know how it's messing with yours. Well, if your God has a problem with me, maybe he should tell me himself. Until then, good. I'm not telling you to lose sleep. Where did you hear us telling you to lose sleep over it? In fact, from the very beginning, we told you we don't care if you don't believe or not. I've said that a lot of times now to you directly. You vote depends on what you believe, and your vote affects me. Did I vote? Did I vote? Your vote affects me. You don't hear me complaining to you. Your vote affects me. Does it not? Everybody's votes affects the other person, but everybody has a decision to make when they vote. So I must vote like you because I should care about your opinion more than mine? That don't make no sense, man. Come on. If what I believe is how I vote, then what you believe is how you vote. And if they're in conflict, if there are more than me, than you, then that person wins. If there are more you than me, then that person. I live in Washington State. There are tons of people that disagree with the way Washington State is run. But there are more people in Washington State that believe the way Washington runs is good than there are those that don't. So they win the elections. That's just how it goes. I'm still waiting for my answer. How is mine messing with your freedom? And did I vote? Good, because I sleep. Oh, I don't know why you got to keep reminding me that. I no one threatened you. Who threatened you? Who threatened you? Wesley, who threatened you? Who on this platform threatened you, Wesley? Like, I'm trying to figure out who on this platform threatened you. I know you want to talk about other people and how they messed you. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about me. Did I threaten you with anything? at all? I literally told you whatever you want to believe, bro. I ain't stopping you from doing that. I'm not trying to change your mind. Everybody has a decision to make. You've made yours, and that's okay. It's all good. We here on this platform, those who have subscribed and who watch, believe in what you consider an imaginary God. We are crazy for it. Cool. We are mental for it. Cool. We are delusional. Cool. We are all good with those titles. We really are. So you don't, and that's okay too. No one has threatened me. So don't say it. If no one here threatened you, why you got to mention that? Just saying I deserve eternal punishment. I didn't say that. Did I say that to you? Did I say that to you? That sounds like a you problem. If it doesn't exist, then you don't have to worry about it. That's like a 2-year-old threatening me to punch me in the face and it'll hurt me to the point where it'll break my jaw. A 2-year-old can't do that to me. Why would I be worried about a 2-year-old punching me in the face? If he's not real, Wesley, why are you concerned about the threat? It's not a threat if it can't be carried on. It's not a threat. What are you talking about, dude? It doesn't exist, remember? God doesn't exist. Hell doesn't exist. If they don't exist, how is it a threat? Man, look, are y'all living in some kind of in your own fears? You living out your own fear. Ain't nobody here tell you anything about hell. If you think there's a hell, then that's on you. If you think you're going to end up there because you don't follow God, that's on you. But if he doesn't exist, it doesn't matter if we threaten you with it or not. It's not going to happen, right? Okay, and if it's not going to happen, what are you worried about? It's all fake. God's not real, and there's no hell. So it's not a threat. If that's what you really believe, then why are you worried about what we believe? We like to believe that we are sold on it. That's us. That ain't you. That's us. You have your rights to believe whatever you want to believe. Wesley and then skeptically, you guys can believe whatever you want. Ain't nobody stopping you from believing it, man. Really, nobody. You'll come across 15 different people that you disagree with how they vote for whatever reason. I know plenty of people that vote a certain way that have nothing to do with religion. And they differ from people to people. When was the last time someone burnt you at the stake? When was the last time someone got burnt at the stake? Tell me. I don't fear the threat itself. I question the ethics of a system where belief is valued more than evidence. Again, how does that affect you? I'm going to keep asking this question. How does that affect you? It's really simple, man. I don't know how else to make this as simple as I can. How does that belief system affect you? How does what I believe right now, myself personally, how does I believing what I believe affect you? I mean, I don't know how else to phrase the question to get the answer. I really don't know. I'm curious. Just tell me how. Please just tell me how. I just want to know. We are crazy people living for an imaginary God, doing our imaginary things, living the way we want to live, expecting an imaginary outcome. How does that affect you? It affects me because the beliefs of others don't stay private. That's yours too. So should you stop believing what you believe? They manifest in laws, social norms, and conflicts. I don't have to believe in a God to feel the real world impact of a God-based thinking. And I don't have to live in a world where God doesn't exist to feel the real life impact of atheists. It's a two-way street, buddy. You have your belief and you vote accordingly too. What's your point? I believe something. You believe something. You vote the way you believe. I vote the way I believe. We both get affected. But you have the choice to let it affect you past that point. So do I. Case in point. Most people that don't believe in God want to have a certain type of bathroom for a certain type of people. I don't believe that. What are my options? I live in a blue state. The blue state says it'll happen. I have this option. I can homeschool my kid. See? It affects me, but it doesn't affect me past the point of being crazy. I don't want to go crazy over it. There are options. Secondary option, don't use the bathroom when people are there. It's just that simple. Walk in with my girls. It's that easy. So you'd be fine with Sharia law being implemented in Islamic wing gains US. If that happens, it happens. What's your point? It's not a matter of whether I'd be okay with it. If it happens, it happens. Do you think that's going to affect my belief in God? Let me tell you something. William. My belief in God is not how many gains I get politically. It's not how many laws are passed in my favor. It's not how many people in politics that are believing in God. That's not where I gauge my belief. I was already told that that's not where I'm going to get my win anyway. So I'm not looking for it there. So if Sharia law happens to come to America, then it comes to America. I'll take my death willfully and I'll be happy with it. No. If that's what you want to do, then stop it. That's you. You can say it should be stopped. Why should it be stopped? If it happens, obviously the majority of people wanted it, or they weren't strong enough to stop it. If you said, this is what you said. Hey, listen to me, William. This is what you said. You'd be fine with Sharia law being implemented if the Islamic wing gains power in the United States. If they gained power in the United States, it would be by the will of the people, or the will of the people weren't strong enough to stop them. So how are you going to stop it? How are you going to stop it, William? William, your question phrased it to where it will not be stopped. So how are you going to stop it? You and your Minecraft army going to stop it? How? Your Pokemon army going to do it? How are you going to stop Sharia law? If it gained power, how are you going to stop it? Nothing wrong with the Hollywood. Again, how are you going to stop it? Don't deflect. Answer my question. How are you going to stop it? If my God is so perfect, why does he doesn't need it? So again, what do you care about my God for? Why do you care about what we do with our God? You don't believe him, so it shouldn't affect you unless you want to know more about him. He doesn't need your worship. I just want to make this clear. He does not need your worship at all. He doesn't need it. No. He doesn't need your worship. I think that's where you got it wrong. He does not need your worship. And he does not need it more than he needs your existence. I'm just saying, he doesn't need either one of them. But then again, he doesn't exist, Wesley. You are talking about something imaginary. Wesley, do you realize how crazy you sound? You're just as bad as us. You're trying to quantify something that doesn't exist to somebody that believes something exists. What are you doing, Wesley? Wesley, it is completely okay for you not to believe God exists. He doesn't exist. Okay? Okay, but you do the same thing. I don't care what you believe in your private, but when you vote the way you vote, then it affects me, doesn't it? I don't get how you're missing that part. I don't get how am I supposed to be okay with yours, but you can't be okay with mine? Okay, then if power is all you care about, then should it not be I get upset when you guys take power? Just answer my question, bro. Is it a two-way street? Is it a two-way street? It sounds like we're not the ones oppressing people, but you are. Is it a two-way street? You vote on your preference. I vote on mine. I don't see how this is a problem. I don't understand this, Wesley. I really don't. You have your way of thinking, and it affects me when you vote, does it not? Oh, not now you leaving? You might not be back in time for the live to be still here. I don't go live for hours on it. I'm actually 15 minutes over, but in any case, to the atheists that may come later on, this I have to say to you. You don't have to believe God exists. You don't. You don't. And you don't have to be like William. Well, you can be like William. Either way. We have reasons for supporting our votes outside of some guy told me this is what God thinks. Okay, cool. Then that's the way you think about it. Perfect for you. Ain't nobody saying otherwise. Good. What do you expect me to... okay, you have your reasons. And ours is what we are... Anyway. Atheist, you don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe in hell. If it's not real, it's not real. So then it's not a threat. And if it's not a threat, if it worries you that we vote a certain way, be assured that it worries us that you vote a certain way. It's a mutual disagreement in the voting area. As long as there's more of you that think away than us, you'll win. If there are more than us, we'll win, and you adjust accordingly. It's been going on for decades. Everybody has a preference, you say. That's okay then. I have a preference and so do you. You don't believe that God exists, and I do. I'm not telling you have to. I'm not forcing you to do it. Ain't nobody begging you to do it neither. Do you. Do what you got to do. Do whatever you want to do. It's not being forced on you now. You're not being coerced, pressured, none of that. But for those of us who do believe in the imaginary God that they talk about, welcome. Welcome to this platform. We will be talking about this imaginary God. We'll be going in depth in this imaginary God. And I'm going to go put some onion on my feet. Anyway. More likely we'll see you guys tonight, possibly on Too Strong for a Live. Hopefully I don't have a relapse. Sliced so-and-so, sliced. I'm thinking it's just the rings and you just kind of put them in your sock and put them on and yeah. Really appreciate all of y'all. Again, sorry for the way I sound. I'm hoping I'll be better before Monday. Hoping. We'll see how that goes. Do appreciate your time, energies, including you people that don't believe. That's okay too. The banter is fun for me. While I'm not trying to convince you, I'm also not deterring you. So it is what it is. Just want to let the bottom of you know what to do. Know to talk to. Love you all. Mean it. Have a grand rest of the day. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, 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 all that is holy, find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.